Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Measurement Sciences in Research, lecture number 15. Now, this is a completely different topic, but at the same time, it is very important for every researcher to understand what are the different measurements that are required in science. And in fact, it has been now called as measurement sciences in research. So, you will, as we go along, you will be able to appreciate that measurements also have a very significant role in generating the data. What does the term measurement sciences mean? The term measurement sciences is used in the context of creating critical solution, enabling tools like metrics, models, and knowledge for, say, any manufacturer, could be US manufacturer. This includes development of performance matrix, measurement and testing methods, predictive modeling and simulation tools, knowledge modeling protocols, technical data reference materials, artifacts, and so on. So it has a huge range. It may not be directly always related to what is your requirement or understanding of measurement sciences, but this is an overall perspective that it includes all kind of performance matrix, all kinds of measurements and testing methods, which of course we go to an analyst and he does the analysis for us, and predictive modeling and simulation tools, knowledge modeling protocols, and technical data and reference materials, and so on. So you will understand that all this is so very important for a researcher to understand. The main objective of measurement science is to determine qualified quantities or functional processes parameter in numbers and units. Acquisition of knowledge is the target of a measurement, and the information obtained from this process is used for developing know-how and finally wisdom for managing improvements in a manufacturing process and product. Modern technologies and equipment such as coordinate measuring machines, CMM, impose high requirements for competence to all those involved in their operation. Training specialists for this field presumes, besides theoretical knowledge, the necessity to acquire practical abilities for the efficient and safe use of the equipment, as well as experience in operating these complex and expensive machines. So it is not just meant for researchers. It is more wide spectrum because it is pertaining to all kind of matrices and how we can measure them to get to some data which could be useful for not only research, it could be for businesses, for industries, and many other such organizations. Therefore, measurement science is also known as metrology in the science, and it is a science of measurement encompassing both theoretical and experimental determinations of any quantity at any level of uncertainty. It plays a crucial role in research by providing the foundation for accurate and reliable data collection and analysis. Measurement science ensures that scientific measurements are precise, accurate, and can be replicated across the different studies. System of measurement. Scientists rely on the International System of Units, that is SI units, also known as metric system, for standardized measurements. Uncertainty. Every measurement has some degree of uncertainty, and measurement science helps to quantify and minimize these uncertainties. You may have seen many equipment coming with their limit of detection. So, which means that beyond which the uncertainty will increase. And if we understand that, then we will be able to understand that every measurement which is popularly used globally is based on metric system. SI system, which is now very popularly used. Earlier, in the olden times, there was different systems in different countries, and that would create a lot of conversion factors and so on. And it was not so easy. But in today's time, globally, metric system is universally used and practiced. Measurement science requires calibration. Every device, every tool needs to be accurately calibrated from time to time to give accurate result and reliable result. So measurement tools and devices are calibrated to ensure accuracy and reliability. Even if it is your balance in the laboratory, which a research scholar is using day in and day out, it is always better to get the calibration done periodically. In fact, maintaining a register of when the instrument was or balance was calibrated is a good idea, because then the periodicity of calibration can be maintained. Similarly, you have thermometers, you have burettes and pipettes, they need to be calibrated. In most of these calibrations of minor equipments are done in National Physical Laboratory, NPL, which is in Delhi. And they do it for every organization by taking certain cost, because after all, they also have to pay to their staff, and it is a paid service that they are providing. Theoretical foundations. Measurement science draws on mathematical and statistical principles to understand and interpret measurement processes. Conduct of inter-comparison studies and calibrations are very much, important and popular. I'll give you an example. If suppose a method has been developed, now this method will be sent to 5 other laboratories, and they will be asked to independently follow and make the measurements according to the procedure provided to them. And then the results of all the 5 laboratories are compared, and that is how it is inter-laboratory comparison is done, and then they come to a conclusion which one is going haywire, which is calibrated, and so on. Evaluation of technologies, system, and practices, including uncertainty analysis, is what is very important. Development of technical basis for standards, codes, and practices. Now, this helps us to actually know that if I have measured, say, a meter of a cloth, if my scale itself was not accurate, that meter could have been 99 centimeter, or it could have been 101 centimeter. So we know that 100 centimeter makes 1 meter. So making that as accurate, we need to keep our standards accurate. If the standard is correct, then the rest is taken care, and then there are no discrepancies in the measurements, and therefore it becomes foolproof. Therefore, repeatedly we mention to all the new research scholars that keep doing your calibrations for the instruments, even instruments like FTIR, UV-Vis, they need to be calibrated from time to time. The machine is provided with calibration samples so that one can check whether the machine is working properly or does it need some kind of calibration or validation in the process. Otherwise, these can become very, very different, and it can cause many mistakes in the final analysis when the research scholar goes to analyze it. Role in research. Now, we learned so much about the general measurement sciences, but how does it impact the research? Data accuracy. Measurement science provides the framework for obtaining accurate and reliable data, which is essential for drawing valid conclusions from research. Replicability. Standardized measurements allow researchers to repeat experiments and compare results across different studies. Interdisciplinary application. Measurement science principles are used in various scientific fields like including physics, chemistry, engineering, and biology. So everywhere the researchers from physics or chemistry or engineering or biology will need to use some sort of measurement during their research tenure. So it is always applicable for researchers also, whether it is applicable for business and industries and other such places. At the same time, it is also important for research scholars to have their data accuracy and to be able to replicate. If suppose my balance is not calibrated, for example, then what will happen? One time 10 milligram will weigh 10 milligram, another time the same 10 milligram may tend to show less or more. Now this can be very misleading because all my calculations of the rest of the ingredients are based on 10 milligram. So if it is not 10 milligram, it is not showing correctly, then all my calculations and eventually my reaction will get bad or will have some shortcoming. So that is the kind of things that have to be avoided, and therefore the role in research of measurement science is profound. It also helps in acknowledging and advancing the knowledge. By ensuring accurate measurements, measurement science supports the advancement of scientific knowledge. Technological development. Measurement science also plays a vital role in the development of new technologies and instruments for making precise measurements. Quality control. Measurement science is used to ensure the quality of products and processes in manufacturing and other industries. So you see, it is so wide spectrum. The use of measurement sciences is everywhere. everywhere you feel that it is required. It is not just one field that, so whether it is advancing the knowledge, accurate measurements are required everywhere. Inaccurate measurements are of no consequence. Similarly, in technological development, if I say that my new development is showing an absorption of free fatty acids of 50%, and if my measurements are not correct, next time it will show 30%, sometimes it will show 65%. Now these are varying. Same adsorbent under the same condition is now showing three different results. Now that is incorrect. Only one of them is correct, and that repeatability can only come. I will consistently get 50%, 50%, 50% if my measuring device is correct and is calibrated. So there is a huge importance of calibration of all the important crucial instruments that you are going to use in your research tenure. It is not that, okay, I'll just get it done because I need to do it only once. Throughout, you will have to use the balance. The balance has to be calibrated, and so on. And quality control also. The measurement science is used to ensure the quality of products and processes in manufacturing and other industries. Suppose you are doing a bulk manufacturing, and every time if your weighing is different, then obviously it is going to affect your product. Sometimes you will get yield which is 80%, sometimes you will get 82%, sometimes you will get only 78%. Now this kind of inaccuracy in yield is actually directly related to uncalibrated equipments which you have used for measuring the starting material in your manufacturing process. So what it boils down to, that all these things are very important provided you understand the importance of measurement sciences. It is as crucial as any equipment data being correct or incorrect. Examples of measurement science in research. Precision measurement. Measuring the dimension of objects at a nanoscale using techniques like atomic force microscopy. Now here you are actually making measurements at a nanoscale, and there you can't afford to have any mistake made by the atomic force microscopy if it is not properly calibrated. Similarly, optical measurements using laser interferometer to measure the deformation of materials under stress. Now, this is a very important study. Laser interferometer is used, and any deformation, the extent of deformation is what is being studied under stressful condition. If that measurement is incorrect, the hypothesis also goes haywire. Similarly, sensor technology. Developing sensors for measuring various physical, chemical, and biological quantities. If your sensor is not calibrated, there are all the chances that they may be giving wrong results. How much of that heavy metal the sensor has been able to sense, if it is calibrated, or vice versa, whether it is uncalibrated. So what it means, that you will immediately understand the importance of measurement sciences in sensor technology. It is also helpful in fluid flow measurement. Measuring the speed and flow rate of fluids using techniques like particle image velocimetry. Now, here, a small change in the flow rate or speed can change the whole story. Therefore, precision, and precision comes from measurement sciences being calibrated, or any equipment that you are using. The machine has to be calibrated completely, then only it will give correct results. If it is an old machine, uncalibrated machine, the data that it will generate will be of no consequence. Environmental monitoring, measuring pollutants in air and water using various sensors and instruments. So you will see that when measuring pollutants in the air and water, various sensors and instruments are used. If they are not calibrated, they will never give the correct value. You must have seen in the town, many places, these machines have been fitted which give us the pollution level of SOx, NOx, and so on. Especially in Delhi, where there is so much of pollution, you need to know what is the level of pollution. If these measurements are incorrect, then how will the government take any corrective measure? Because these have to be correct. Pollution levels have to be known to the environment scientists to take proper precautions and to suggest to policy makers what to do and how to deal with this problem. So you will understand that at every field, it is equally important. We cannot say that it is important in research, but it is not important in environmental science or fluid flow measurement. We don't need it every day. Why should I worry about that? It is just to give you an idea that if you are an experimentalist in chemistry lab, you are more worried about the equipments that you are going to use and the calibration of those instruments and their data generated after calibrating, because that is of your direct importance. But for others, their field of interest is of importance. I am just giving you a wide spectrum examples of where all measurement sciences play very crucial role. Challenges and future direction. Nanoscale measurements. Developing new techniques and instruments for making measurements at the nanoscale. Now, when we have to measure something at nanoscale, it is not microscale, it is nanoscale, not macro scale, but it is nanoscale measurements. These are very, very precise, small measurements. One cannot afford to make any mistake in measurements. Smart measurement system, integrating sensors and measurement instruments with the data processing and analysis techniques to create smart measurement systems. So nowadays, a lot of these machines, measurement machines, have become smart systems. Now, what does it mean? It is integrated to not only with the sensor, which is actually sensoring, but also with data processing, like a computer, so that all the measurements are then interpreted in the desired format, and then they can be called as smart measurement system. Cross-disciplinary collaboration. Fostering collaboration between researchers in different fields to address complex measurement challenges. What it means that it fosters challenges between researchers and different fields of complex measurement techniques. Uncertainty quantification. Developing more sophisticated methods for quantifying and managing measurements uncertainty. So, how do we lower down that uncertainty? By developing more and more sophisticated instruments, we can do that. Standardization. Establishing common standards and guidelines for measurement across different disciplines and industries. That means that we have made a common standard, a guideline. If you will see an IS of drinking water, a huge lot of parameters are given. Heavy metal, all the 9 heavy metals, how much milligram or nanogram only they are permissible, because it was possible to measure first thing at that level and then to see what are the levels which are not dangerous for human consumption. Because drinking water is meant for one and all. And if the water is polluted, say for any river or any water body, this measurement becomes very crucial, whether it is suitable for drinking or not. Otherwise, proper water treatment has to be done to remove those heavy metals or pesticides or any kind of bacterial, viral, or fungal infections. Because unless and until we have a method of measurement, this could not have been achieved very easily. And this is what has to be understood very, very clearly and practiced. Measurement science in additive manufacturing, which is abbreviated as AM. Measurement science is an area that focuses on uncertainty element in a part production. In AM, there are numerous challenges ranging from the lack of material variety, poor part accuracy, poor repeatability and consistency, and the lack of qualification and certification standards that lead to the slow adoption of this technology. These challenges arise from the uncertainties from material, processes, part accuracy, and physics-based and property-based models in simulation. So you see that even these are so important in additive manufacturing. Of course, for additive manufacturing is related to manufacturing units where they are making these additives. Even the additives have to be made in perfect manner. One cannot have a scope of making, and often the problem arises from lack of material variety, poor part accuracy, poor repeatability, inconsistency, and in lack of, there are no standards to make, how to make it. So therefore, the importance of standards become very important. Measure it like this, by this method, and this instrument should be calibrated to get this result. If you get this result, which means you have actually achieved it in the right manner. So these are some of the things which have to be very clearly understood, that measurement science in today's scientific world is of foremost importance. We cannot neglect at some stage or the other. We need to refer to measurement sciences during our research. Whether I am doing theoretical research or whether I am doing practical research in the laboratory, whether I am sitting on the computer and doing simulation, that is also a kind of a measurement science, or whether I am doing computational work which is based on the algorithm, These are all different ways of measurement sciences being applied for different purposes. So, measurement sciences, test, integration, and compliance all rely on measurement sciences. While measurement is historically an old technical subject, it is fundamental to everything that you do. Just now, I mentioned a while ago, you need to understand at least the implicity, the definitions of accuracy, precision, and uncertainty of the differences between the parameters. At a high level, you need to define what is a fault, a failure, and an incident. You will also need to set the level of fault detection. Will you detect 95% of all the faults, or 98%, or 99.999%? So these are helping us to eventually get accurate results. It is directly related to what we are trying to attain. Measurements, and I said calibration helps in setting these, whether it is a faulty machine, whether there is a failure in any analysis, or whether it is, how can we control this accuracy, its precision, and its level of uncertainty. These are some of the points which are very crucial, and one needs to understand them as a researcher. It is immaterial whether I am going to use all of these mentioned a while ago or not, but a basic understanding of measurement sciences is a must for any research scholar, and that is why we are studying it under the lecture series of research methodology. Measurements. So it has a term called measurand. The measurand is a specific physical parameter central to the measurement. It can be a property of material or condition of a process, a sensor, or a collection of sensors selectively transduces the desired measurand to produce, in most situations, an electrical signal that enters a system to produce the measurement of the measurand. So basically, what is that factor? You can, understand measurand is a factor. So it is the sensor's capability to send the signal, and that is the measurand. That is the measuring part that we are looking at. Accuracy describes how much the measured value deviates from the true value, relates to a defined standard of the measurand. Please note, accuracy is not the same as resolution. They are related values but not synonymous. So when we talk about accuracy, we are not talking about the resolution. Resolution is a different ball game altogether. Accuracy is of that machine which is calibrated, which is measuring correctly. So resolution, let us understand what it means. Describes the smallest increment of input stimulus that can be sensed, which is not necessarily the accuracy, because the transfer function may be non-linear. If it is linear, you change the resolution, the accuracy changes, but that's not the case always. That's in fact never the case. They are non-linearly related. Resolution is the efficiency or the smallest increment that can enhance the stimulus, but that is not directly connected to the accuracy part. So this has to be very well understood in the mind, because then only you will be able to understand that all this is very important, and measurement is basically the factor which is responsible for the measurement. Then comes linearity and precision. Linearity means describe the form of a transfer function relationship between measurand input and sensor output. A linear relationship means that it is very simple to convert sensor output to the measurement result. If it is linearly related, it is simple. This is often the parameter that requires calibration. Threshold. Describe the minimum and maximum input detection levels beyond which the sensor produces no usable output. So every sensor has an outer limit and an inner limit. Basically, the function happens between those two limits. To be able to actually understand, we have to understand the threshold levels. And the precision comes when we describe how repeatable the measurements are. Specifically, a measurement repeated with identical input conditions. Precision describes how much the results will vary. Please note, precision is not accuracy. Accuracy describes how close the sensor is to a static ideal situation, whereas precision describes how results vary dynamically. So, there are very narrow differences of understanding between the precision and accuracy, and what does linearity means, and so on. Uncertainty, on the other hand, related to accuracy, resolution and precision. It describes the variance in repeated samples of the same value or data point. So you can understand that it is related to accuracy, and it is also related to the resolution and precision. So all these put together are all parts of measurement and measurand. Now, if you look at this slide, which is sourced from Faster Capital, you will have a better understanding that to ensure accuracy, which is the first point, the second point is to increase the credibility of research findings, to improve the reproducibility of experiments, and fourth and lastly, to enhance the quality of research. All these 4 points are very important if we look at measurements from the precision point of view. And they are very, very important in research, and this has been very well exemplified in this slide. Now, let us come to what measurement means in scientific research. Measurement are observations that convey a value or unit. In science, scientific measurements aim to communicate values clearly and concisely, because accurate measurements are crucial for ensuring an experiment is reproducible. Scientific measurements are typically taken in well-recognized units. Now, this on the right-hand side, I have added a part of a slide sourced from Let's Talk Science. If you are having high accuracy and low precision, this is how it can be depicted. The spots are all, spread around. Whereas if it has low accuracy but very high precision, then all the spots are gathered in one point. So now you can discriminate what is meant by accuracy, that there are 4 points. That part is broadly seen in the first left-hand side slide. But where are these points located? That precision is not very clear. Whereas on the right-hand slide, you will see there are 4 points all coming together in a particular region. So the accuracy is low, but their precision of finding is very high. So this is what is meant by these 3 terms: accuracy, precision, and uncertainty. There is no uncertainty in these 2. There are 4 points, 4 points. In one it is spread out, in the other one it is coming together, and so on. So now let us get into a little more detailing. What are the 3 types of measurement in science? Because let us now come down to our research domain: descriptive measurement, diagnostic measurement, and predictive measurement. 3 different types which serve 3 different purposes, period. They are not going to get mixed up. In one research paper, we can have more than one. One is descriptive measurement and the predictive measurement can come together. If it is a clinical research, it can be diagnostic and predictive, and so on. 4 levels of measurements. When we put them in different levels. There are 4 major levels of predicting measurements. They are nominal. The data can only be categorized. Ordinal. The data can be categorized and ranked. Interval. The data can be categorized, ranked, and evenly spaced. And ratio. The data can be categorized, ranked, evenly spaced, and has a natural zero. Which means that all the measurements that we do must either fall in one or the other category. Then only it will make sense. Any kind of randomization, there is no scope. It has to be either normal, ordinal, interval, or ratio. And that makes the researcher's life very easy and understandable. Now, what is the role of measurement in research? In research, measurement is a systematic procedure for assigning scores, meaning, and description to concepts so that those scores represent the characteristic of interest. Social scientists can and do measure just about anything you can imagine observing or wanting to study. So everywhere, whether it is science, whether it is social science, measurement is required. Measurement theory is the thought process and interrelated body of knowledge that form the basis of valid measurements. Translation of measurement theory to behaviors help to ensure the integrity and relevancy of tests and the data that results from them. So it is for these purposes that measurement theories are actually practiced, and you need to get the correct data for reporting in your research paper. Key components of measurement sciences. Measurement theory. It establishes principle for what constitutes a valid measurement, involves understanding scales that are nominal, ordinal, interval, ratio, and measurement models. Instrument development and calibration ensures tools like, say, sensors, scales, spectrometers are accurate and reliable. Calibration is crucial to eliminate systematic errors, data quality, and standards. Consider validity, reliability, accuracy, and precision of data. Standards like ISO, NIST, IS, Indian standards provide reference framework for consistent measurements. So, it is a whole science which has its own theory, where instruments are developed with their calibration, where data quality and standards are made to follow so that accurate measurements can be achieved, and so on. Uncertainty and error analysis. Every measurement device must have some degree of uncertainty, or does have, I should say. Estimating this as vital helps in assessing confidence in experimental results. Now, I'll give you an example that if suppose the UV or ultraviolet spectrophotometer is not calibrated, what will happen? The lambda max that you are supposed to get will change, and that shouldn't happen. So there is always some standards which are provided by the manufacturer of the machine, so that periodically the analyst can calibrate and see the lambda max of a known compound is repeated, and if there is any discrepancy, then he can take useful measurements, or he can change the adjustments and make it correct. Statistical and analytical methods used for data interpretation and ensuring robustness of results includes hypothesis testing, regression, ANOVA, and we will be spending one full lecture on statistical methods which are used for measurements in research. Metrology, the science of measurement itself, divided into scientific, which is fundamental, industrial, and legal metrology. Because many a times we need to show data, measured data, whether they were 100, they were 200, they were 1000, they were 10. Unless and until there is a way of measuring that, how do you actually prove who is right and who is wrong? So, measurements are utilized everywhere. And the science of measurement is metrology. Anything which is measured. Now, application in research, as what we were talking a while ago, the measurement science has its application in research pertaining to chemistry and physics. Analytical techniques like spectroscopy, chromatography rely heavily on precise measurement. Biology and medicine, biomarkers, clinical diagnostics need validated instruments and protocols. Social sciences, surveys, and psychological tests require construct validity and reliable scoring. Engineering, structured testing, materials evaluation depending on accurate sensor-based measurements. So, it is used widely. Everywhere you need to use a lot of measurement devices, whether it is chemistry, physics, biology, medicine, social sciences, or engineering, and many other subjects. Why measurement science matters in research? Because It ensures replicability and credibility of experiments, allows comparison between different studies or over time, supports decision making, especially when research informs policy or clinical practices, helps in identifying true effects versus artifacts due to measurement error. So it has a huge role. Measurement science are not just applied in research just like that. It is to ensure that every experiment that I am doing is repeatable and is authentic by its credibility. It allows comparison between two different studies over a period of time. Unless you have measured A factor at a later date, how will you find out the A factor unless you had measured it earlier? So likewise, it has its own very crucial, important, significant role to play. And it supports decision making, especially when the research informs policy or clinical practice. Suppose if a patient is found severely diabetic, that finding of severe diabetes was through clinical practice and his blood sugar was 200. Now that value 200 is very significant because it has to be brought down to 120 or 100 or even less. So how do we do it? Unless we have a way of, so decision making that a severely diabetic patient should now be treated immediately to lower his blood sugar is based on measurement sciences. So this is the type of importance it has in our day-to-day life also, in clinical life, in research life, everywhere. Now this is a very interesting slide where how measurement sciences start helping us or guiding us. First, we make an observation, then we have a question, then we have a hypothesis, then we do experimentation, and we do a lot of measurements after experimentation to generate data, which is analyzed, and then we come to a conclusion. So this is the entire role or different roles that a researcher has to play. So here measurement makes a big and significant role in its own way. Precision in measurement therefore becomes very important. Precision in measurement is very important in research because it ensures that the data collection are consistent, reliable, and reproducible. Precise measurements reduce uncertainty and help researchers draw valid conclusions. Number one, ensures reliability of results. Precision means obtain similar results when a measurement is repeated under the same conditions. If measurements are precise, other researchers can repeat the experiment and obtain similar results, increasing the reliability of the research. So, repeatability and reliability is only and only assured by precise measurement. Secondly, it improves accuracy of conclusions. Although precision and accuracy are different, high precision helps researchers detect small differences and changes in data. This allows more accurate interpretation of results and better scientific conclusion. Third, reduces experimental error. Precise measurement techniques minimize random errors in experiments. Lower errors improve the quality and credibility of research findings. Fourth, it enhances reproducibility. One of the key principles of scientific research is reproducibility. Precise measurements allow other scientists to replicate the experiment and verify the results. If the measurements are done in a precise manner, anybody at a later stage or anybody from anywhere can repeat that process correctly. And I gave you an example of the Poland research group trying to repeat, were not able to repeat because a small thing was missed out in the research paper. However, when they did it by the correct method, they were able to reproduce. Fifth point, importance for statistical analysis. Statistical analysis requires consistent and reliable data. If measurements are not precise, statistical results may become misleading or invalid. So it is very much understood that precision in measurement science is highly required. Sixth point, helps in detecting small changes. In many fields such as chemistry, environmental science, and materials research, small variations in measurements can lead to significant differences in outcomes. Precision helps detect these stubble variations. Increases scientific credibility. Research with precise measurements is considered more trustworthy and scientifically valid, which strengthens the credibility of researchers and the study. So, in summary, we can say that precision in measurements ensures consistency, reliability, reduced error, and reproducibility, which are essential for producing valid and credible scientific research. So, in a way, now you have been able to appreciate that how measurement sciences play a very crucial role and precisely, accurately measuring any of your data, whether it is spectroscopic method, whether it is your balances, whether it is your chromatographic techniques, makes all the difference in doing good research. Now, when we look at the examples of measurement science in just chemistry alone, you see, in UV vis, the purpose is to absorb the light at specific wavelength. Instrument that is used is UV vis spectrophotometer, and the importance, it determines concentration by using Beer-Lambert's law. In gas chromatography, it is the separation and quantification of volatile compounds. It uses gas chromatograph and it identifies the components in a mixture like fragrances or pollutants. Mass spectrometry. Mass to charge ratio of different ions of different compounds are detected by mass spectrometer and determines molecular weight and structure of the unknown compound. pH measurement, which is a very simple instrument. Hydrogen ion concentration, pH meter, which is a glass electrode, and what is the acidity or the basicity of the solution, and it is critical in reaction, titration, and biological system. Titration, it measures the volume of titrant required for reaction completion. We usually use burettes and pipettes, and it quantifies unknown concentrations of the analyte. Why it matters in chemistry, whether it is analytical chemistry, physical chemistry, environmental chemistry, pharmaceutical chemistry, or even agricultural chemistry, everything depends on accurate measurement to determine composition and purity. In physical chemistry, uses precision instrument to derive constant, that is rate, reaction rates, equilibrium constant, and so on. In environmental chemistry, it monitors pollutants using validated sensitive methods. And in pharmaceutical chemistry, it demands strict measurements, controls for dosage and safety. Now, in conclusion, we can say measurement science in chemistry, we use instrumentation which needs to be calibrated. There has to be a measurement process. Then there is data analysis, and then there is the interpretation and output. So we have come to an end of this chapter. Thank you.